Gagan, and welcome to the About Her show. I mean, finally, I managed to get hold of you.
Thank you. I wasn't playing hard to get.
I know
It's
that.
just that
I-
you travel a lot, and I'm
Yeah, yeah,
sort of all around and all. So it's. I'm glad it's happened
I
eventually.
know. So am I. So, this is a show, as you know, where we get women achievers who we call women trailblazers to share the story of their lives with us. Tell us about their ups and downs, challenges that they may have faced along the way. The idea is not only to, get them a platform to talk about their journey, but along with that, there are so many women out there who want to do something with their lives, but for some reason or the other, they're not able to do it. So I just
Mm.
feel that when we relate, stories of women who have followed their dreams and passions and ambitions and done something out of those, then somebody out there may just get inspired and, get out of whatever is holding them back to realize their potential. And of course, eventually, we want to build a community of women who are there to support, help, empower, mentor each other. So that's the whole
Very
idea.
important. Very
Yeah.
important.
So, as I said, a very, very warm welcome to you. And
Thank you.
you're welcome. So let's get started. So, just like an icebreaker, tell us a little bit about your early life, your childhood, and if you think that any of those experiences from those days, have left a mark on you and kind of helped you become what you are today.
Well, I think if I think of my childhood, I grew up in Bombay. I did my studies, school, college, and most of my chartered accountancy I completed in Bombay. My cost accountancy also I completed in Bombay. I just completed my CA after I got married and I came to Delhi.
Okay.
Coincidentally, in my husband's firm where he was a partner.
Okay.
So yeah, that was
That's
the
interesting. Okay.
the last bit of my CA. But I think what stood me in good stead from my childhood has been the softer issues, the importance of punctuality, the importance of discipline, the importance of transparency, integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things which have stood me in good stead.
Okay.
And a trait which I carry forward from my childhood to now is to be busy, is
Okay.
to be constantly doing something.
Hmm.
So, that's something that's been a common thread through my life. And another thing is, I think being busy and adding value, doing something meaningful,
Yeah.
that's been, I think that's been the common thread for me right through.
Okay. That is actually so important. I mean, you can be busy, but if you're not adding value, then I guess it's of no use. So, yeah, that is something it totally resonates with me because I feel, it should be productively busy. You should be doing something,
Yes.
you get something out of it, some kind of satisfaction.
Yeah.
So, when you were growing up, did you have any aspirations? Was there something or some profession or somebody who you felt you wanted to be like, and a childhood idol, maybe?
So strangely enough, Sangeeta, till my high school, I had this image of me with a jura at the nape of my neck, with a crisp cotton sari, waiting for my husband to come home.
Oh.
I was, I had no career ambitions at all till I'd finished school or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But in college, but at the same time, the contradiction is I didn't do arts. I took commerce because I thought commerce से कुछ हो सकता है.
Yeah.
And I didn't do science. I didn't do science because I said the studies take too long, so I'll get late getting married. So I
Okay.
was quite a hodgepodge of things.
Mhm.
But I constantly met people who encouraged me and pushed me. And somewhere in college, I developed the career ambition in
Okay.
first or second year. It's
Mhm.
that and I knew I had to stand on my own feet. I'm the fourth of four children. At that time, my father's business, which was doing very well earlier,
Mhm.
collapsed. Things were not so great, and I wanted to be independent. I was very clear I
Hmm.
have to be financially independent.
Okay.
So all those things put together led me to a career thing. But it's actually one thing leading to another that made me do it. I had It's, I think I'll disappoint people, but I'll be truthful that I had no clear career plan or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
ambition that I want to do it. It's just things happened, met the right people at the right time. They
Hmm.
pushed, they nudged, and I followed a certain path, which I
Okay.
don't regret. I
Hmm.
don't regret.
But that's like, I think, true of a lot of women, a lot of girls in our country. I mean, initially, early on, why girls? I think a lot of people are not very clear about what they want to do. It's
Yeah,
only by and by, as they kind of, move ahead in life, that things start getting clearer. And maybe with exposure and meeting people or reading or whatever, you get to know what are the various options. So, yeah, I
correct.
guess, I mean, with most of us, it happened like that. So then tell us a little bit
Mhm.
about your career. So you did your CA, you did your cost accountancy, and what then after that?
So I started with finance, but you see, my father was a businessman, and
Mm.
as I said, I needed to be busy. So even in my school days, I would go with him on weekends to his office and
Okay.
his factory. And
Mm,
I would, to keep busy, not out of career ambition, I used to help with things. So I knew how a store worked,
okay.
what is a bin card, what is in, what is out, how
Mm,
to do it. So I was attuned to business, though with no career ambition, but I was familiar with it. So
mm,
even when I finished my CA, I wanted to be not restricted to finance
mm-hmm.
and get into general management. And I
Okay.
was lucky. I started my career in Delhi. It was a culture shock getting married and coming to Delhi. It
Mm.
was a huge shock. This is 45 years ago.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
were there were I think I must have been the only woman CA and cost accountant in Delhi at that time.
Oh
And
my.
no one was willing to give a job because Delhi was a liaison city. It
Mm.
was the license Raj. And
Yeah.
they couldn't imagine a woman doing it. So I couldn't get a job.
Oh.
And it was very difficult. And when I finally got a job with Ranbaxy
Mm.
and they paid well, I
Mm.
was willing to work for free because it was like, koi to kaam de do. I just wanted to keep busy
Yeah.
and use my qualifications. It was that bad. Delhi
Mm.
is a very different city now,
Yeah.
you know. But
Mm.
45 years ago, compared to Bombay, it was way behind, especially with women working and
Mm.
professionals.
Mm. Mm.
So that was a tough start. So I started with finance and then ran back C, and then we moved to Nepal for
Okay.
14 years. And that's where I got into general management. I
Okay.
was, in finance, doing management accounting, budgeting, but I was running a small company
Mm-hmm.
of the group. And that's how I gradually got into general management, project management, etc.
Mm.
Came back. 14 years in Nepal was like working in an incubator. It's so small. It's
Mm.
like being in a laboratory. It's all fantastic. The value and the learning was tremendous because we worked for the largest and the most respected conglomerate of the country.
Mm.
And again, here I was working with my husband. We were both very senior in the same organization, which
Oh.
was again unusual.
Mm. Mm.
So coming back to India, just after the IT boom had started was a big shock for us because
Okay.
India had exploded. You
Mm.
know, the tech boom had happened and it was a different country from the one we left 15 years ago, even though we were next door,
Yeah.
just an hour flight away. But I found my feet um, a slightly difficult way,
Mm-hmm.
but I kept getting thrown into the deep end and surviving. I learned a lot. It was like trial by fire. I worked with a part of the DCM group, which owned Benetton,
Okay. Okay.
and the company had a lot of issues. So I was cleaning up a lot of stuff.
Mm.
And then I was in Benetton for 5 years, and
Okay.
I ended up as the CEO of Benetton. And that was, again, a very interesting journey
Mm.
where it was a joint venture between 50-50 between Benetton Italy and uh, the DCM Bharatram Group,
Mm.
Vivek Bharatram Group. And it was during my stewardship that it became 100% subsidiary of Benetton. and
Okay. Okay.
Bharatram Group was bought over, though I was Bharatram's nominee. So
Hmm.
that was an interesting phase. I learned a lot. I had to take very tough calls, but then I carried on as the chief executive and left them in 2017. Then I did 10 years with Jones Lang LaSalle,
Okay.
which was fantastic. The best years of my career.
Wow.
It was very, very rewarding, satisfying, motivating, you know, extremely nice.
Hmm.
And eventually I took a call and exited a job
Hmm.
in 2017. And now I do consultancy, etc. But for the past 17 years, I've been involved with board positions also.
Okay. Okay. So very
Yeah.
interesting. Like for someone who didn't know what she was going to do. And I think, like
Yeah.
you said, you wanted to get married and you the cotton sari and all that to where you are now. That's so interesting and so inspiring. Because, when you think about it, imagine a young girl listening to this conversation. You actually
Mm.
feel that, the world is your oyster. You can do anything you want. Of course.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the thing is to seize an opportunity and not get scared and take the risk. I think that's what's important.
And whatever
That's very
challenges come your way, just kind of, like catch the bull by the horns and just do it.
Yeah, sometimes I think for me, what applies is, uh, you know, fools enter spaces which angels fear to tread because I just get into spaces, but I've been very lucky I've survived.
That's
Uh,
inspiration.
no, survived and come out winning. So that's been nice. So it's led one thing to another. So
Yeah.
having courage and depending on common sense and your the discipline, the various values you work by,
Yeah.
that really
So tell me something. Of course, you've already mentioned that the transition from Bombay to Mumbai to Delhi was a huge thing and it was a big cultural shock and all of those things. So, of course, this must have been a very big challenge for you. But other than that, were there other challenges that you faced? And in particular, because you were a woman, and like you said, Delhi was, but were there any specific instances where you had to face gender discrimination, so to say?
you know, initially when I joined Ranbaxy, I was the first woman they had in finance.
Okay, okay,
So the finance department was not used to a woman around.
I'm sure.
So it wasn't as if they all came and became friends straight away.
Mm,
Everyone kept their distance, and I had to make the move. And eventually, within a few months, we were all fine.
mm,
But
mm,
initially, I could have withdrawn into my shell and pretended as if I don't want anyone talking to me. But
mm,
you got to, put yourself out there and become friendly and talk to them, and it worked out. So,
mm.
and also we had the leader makes a big difference. So
Yes.
the general manager of finance of Ranbaxy at that time, and it was a great company at that time. I know there are lots of negative
Yeah.
sort of stories about it now. It was
Mm,
a great company at that time, and the general manager of finance made sure that I was welcome. So,
okay.
but you have to prove your worth.
Of course, of
You
course.
have to, as a woman, you start at a negative. You
Mm,
start with some doubts and all. So you have to prove your worth. So
mm,
that's very important, and that stays. Otherwise, except for when I was looking for a job
mm.
where gender bias came in,
Okay.
where the answer would be clearly, we don't think a woman can handle this job. Those
Okay.
were the answers. But after that, and after that, luckily, I've always been either a big fish in a small pond, or I've grown enough to become a bigger fish in a
Mm, of
biggish pond. So I've been at senior positions, and then gradually you build your track record.
course.
So that gives you credibility, and that gives you, the pushes away that kind of discrimination. So I haven't really faced it as such, but I know it exists.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I know it exists while you're hiring good people, and I know it in conversations
Mm,
uh, with leaders, when they're choosing candidates.
Yeah.
and the kind of thoughts that go through their head. That exists, and unconsciously or consciously, the biases exist, and some are open about it, some are not, and it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So,
But I think,
yeah.
of course, they exist and it will take a lot of time for us to kind of, get over them or to do away with them. But I think women also have an integral role to play in this, in the sense that, yes, first you get that foot in the door, but then you've also got to work hard to prove your worth. You cannot, prove to people that you're only here because you're a woman and then you don't do anything about it. You have to work hard and you have to prove that you are capable and you have the ability to be there. You deserve where you are to be there.
These days, women face the challenge of proving that they are there, not just because they are a woman. During my time, there was no reservation or any such thing.
Mm,
So you
yeah.
weren't hired because of a woman. So you had to say that I'm good even though I'm a woman,
Okay.
not
Okay. Yeah.
because I'm a woman.
Because I'm a
It
woman.
was even though I'm a woman, I'll show you I can work as hard, travel as much, and be as open in my communication,
Mm,
or confront issues, or be principled, or
mm,
be as professional as um the males, or
yeah.
better.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a challenge all through.
Mm,
As you get senior,
mm,
having a track record and having a reputation behind you really helps.
yeah.
But the start is always tough, and every, um, sort of every step up the ladder, you
Mm,
have to be, prove your worth. But men do too.
yeah.
Women at the start have a tougher time, always.
I agree. So tell me, based on your experience, and of course, what is going around even now. If a young girl today were to wanting to become a part of the corporate world, are there any tips that you would like to share? Maybe just two, three tips on what it takes to succeed in the corporate world.
Um, Well, I will contradict what most people say, and I'll say don't get into politics at all. Stay
Okay.
apolitical,
Mm,
because I don't know. I cannot indulge in politics at all. So I will just kill myself if I do it, and it
mm,
will never. But work hard. Don't expect favors just because you're a woman, unless a certain circumstance requires it.
yeah.
But don't take advantage of the fact that you know you can get special favors because you're a woman. But work hard, and uh, compete with yourself. Don't compete with others. It's
Mm,
very important for women, because our phases of life are very different, and we can, sort of make demotivate ourselves by competing with others, who maybe men, maybe other women whose circumstances are different. It's best to compete with oneself, that am I doing better than I expected to, or am I doing as well as I can?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's important, because we juggle a lot.
But
So,
that's true. I feel you should always compete with yourself because that's
absolutely,
the best parameter. I mean, other people, like you said, their circumstances could be different. They are different. So,
absolutely, absolutely.
it's like apples and oranges. So why compare apples with oranges?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, Gagan, on a regular day when you're not working, and okay, when you don't feel like working and don't feel like doing anything on a particular day, it's one of those low days. So, how do you kind of pep yourself up? Because women do have, days when you are like, not that men don't, but women, I think, have more reasons sometimes, because of families, children, or even other, issues with us. So, what do you do to maybe stay the course or, like I said, pep yourself up?
When I've always enjoyed work so much, so I've very rarely needed prepping up at work, but I did at one stage. I'll tell you about that. But
Mm.
when home gives you a downer or something, rush to work. I think it's always been a big relief to get away from home when things are
Okay.
not going well, because
Okay.
work, you get into work, that's the best pep me up, because there's so much to do, and
Mm.
it's a good environment, and you meet people.
Yeah.
But I did, in fact, it was in Benetton, and that's why I left.
Mm.
I did have a boss who, not because I was a woman, he was just, nature was such that he was a horrible boss. He thrived on demeaning people, humiliating people, and everything.
Okay.
And that was extremely demotivating. And work did lead to a low, it was, one did go through very low times.
Okay.
And I think you've got to find it in yourself to look at the positives. For me, one is I'm very resilient
Mm.
and I always see a glass as half full. I do not focus on the empty.
Mm.
I mean, I focus on the what's full and what can make it fuller, and
Mm.
that sees me through life. Um, Being resilient and counting your blessings and thinking of the positives and capitalizing and building on those
Mm.
are what's seen me through life and all its ups and downs and phases and everything.
I think staying positive, is I think very, very crucial because like I also feel that if there is a downhill, there's got to be an uphill. So just focus on the
Absolutely.
uphill. So, if you like the glass being, half full, that is what is going to, kind of get you up and running.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me this experience with your boss. So what did it teach you?
It also taught me patience, and I didn't just leave. I left when the right opportunity came, though I knew that with him around, it's not going to work for long. I
Mm.
love the brand, I love the team I was leading,
Mm.
but even having a visitor once a month who demolishes you for 3 days is bad, and you don't need it.
Oh.
And he had an effect which lasted in me. He shattered my self confidence for almost 2 years, and
Mm.
yeah, and it came back after 2 years. So I think I lasted too long. I should have exited earlier, but
Mhm.
I just didn't. I'm old fashioned. I didn't want to leave with nothing in hand. And my husband had just started a business. So in a way, I was running the family. You're always balancing everything. And I let it affect me. Maybe if I was advising someone else now, as
Mhm.
I was just last week, I'd say, get out, do something to get out.
Okay.
It's not good. Uh, uh, um, uh, an environment that makes you shrink, that demolishes you or demotivates you, is bad for your health, bad for your self confidence, is bad for your personal life. One should get out of it. I learned that.
Mhm.
I
And
learned that.
that's a huge learning because sometimes when we are in this situation, just for the sake of sticking it out, we don't realize how, in the long run, it may affect our mental well-being,
How much we are
relative.
damaging ourselves. And I realized it. And fortunately, it maybe some of the tablets I have now are a result of that. But I know the day when I got him out of my system. I was in Singapore and I did something very well, and I came home and I told my husband, I said, now he's out of my system.
Great.
So that's how corrosive negative leaders can be.
It can be
And
true.
they say, Gallup says you leave a manager, you don't often you mostly research shows that people leave managers and not organizations.
Organizations, true, true. So
Yeah.
tell me, any piece of advice that you would like to give to young girls of today who are on the verge of their personal and professional lives? It could be in terms of financial independence, emotional independence, or whatever you think is are the things which they should keep in mind. Say, somebody who's 18 or 19 or maybe 20 years old.
I think financial independence is absolutely essential so
Mm-hmm.
that you're not compromising in life just because you're not financially independent. I have two daughters and we made sure of that because your all your decisions in life
Mm.
should be based can be logical and correct only if you're financially independent.
Okay.
Otherwise, you get compromised. So that is important. And the other thing is, there's such a variety of jobs open now.
Mm.
Our age was different. Do something you love so that you get up in the morning and you're excited about work.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's very, very important. Choose a career or choose a company, choose a career that you you enjoy going to, are excited about,
Hmm.
because there's the biggest success factor is passion. And you'll have passion in work only if you really like what you're doing.
That's
And
true.
it shouldn't be. And many of us can get into a privileged positions where we are the second earners in a family, and it's not, we are not putting food on the table, so we can spoil ourselves and actually make sure we make a correct decision and do something we really like.
Yeah.
Unlike men who are perceived the traditionally the bread earners,
Hmm.
they sometimes have to compromise. If we are the second earner,
Hmm.
not always, but
Yeah.
if we are, then we can afford to, compromise a bit on other aspects, but do something we really enjoy.
Yeah.
That's very, very important. And I think the other thing is, I know Gen Z and all, there's a lot of focus on quality of life and, everything. But I think hard work at the start of one's life really pays back.
Yes. There is no substitute for that. You can't
Yeah,
see that. I think hard
yeah.
work never goes
And
out of fashion.
absolutely hard work and working with the right values.
Yeah.
No compromising on that. That's very, very important.
Mm. That's true.
But the world is their oyster these days. The girls have so many opportunities, and I think as women grow, it's connected with that. They have to realize that they have to be role models for younger generations. That's all of us have that. We
Yes.
have to be great role models, because that's the only way we will encourage other women to grow,
Yeah.
not drop off when they have children, and go through that tough time, keeping the long run in mind.
Mm.
And and the other thing for women is, please find supportive families. Get married to people who are supportive and who will encourage you. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you'll be very sad. You'll
Yes.
see it's not going to work.
That
So
is.
get supportive families. That's very, very important, and it's critical if you want to have a family and do everything. You can't have it all, but if you want almost all,
Mm.
having a supportive family is very, very important.
I agree.
And
Because I
the
think,
other thing is doing what you like and having pride in your work,
yes.
because that's very important. If you go to a dinner or something, men will ask each other, what are you doing? A woman will very rarely get asked, what are you doing? Right? But you have to be proud about what you're doing, so that you can talk about it, and also go home and talk about it to a mother-in-law, a father-in-law, mother, father, so that they get pride in what you're doing, so they don't think you're running away to work only to run away from cooking and running the house.
Yeah.
So having pride in what you're doing is very important, apart from doing something you enjoy. That's important.
But that is something, I think a lot of women fall short when it comes to taking pride. We just kind of just
They
like,
want, yeah,
just maybe just hide behind the, I don't know, husband or whatever it is. We don't like to talk about it. And even if
yeah,
somebody were to talk about it, we are kind of, like a little embarrassed. Okay, fine, don't say, that sort of a
yeah,
thing. But I
yeah.
think you're right. We need to take pride, because if we don't, who else is going to? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, don't go out with a banner,
No,
something,
no,
but
no.
talk about, don't hesitate to talk about it, and let the husband be so proud that he also talks about what his wife does.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
So, like,
Yeah.
yes, you have to do it yourself first, and then, like, I
Yeah.
guess others will follow suit in that manner. So, tell me, like you said, you go to a party and it's normally the men who get asked what they are doing. So, has that changed over the years? I mean, is the world more open towards accepting and celebrating successful women?
There has been a significant change for sure,
Mm,
but there's miles to go. There's a long, long way to go. And so, Sangeeta, the exposure you and I get is to such a thin slice of
mm,
what the rest of the corporate world is. You know, like I've been privileged to work in very organized and professional companies, or at least companies conscious of the fact that they need to get professional. But you go down to less professionalized companies, or which are more, I don't want to use the term mom and pop operations or family. It's got a long way to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, I profile one woman every month, like you do, but younger women.
Okay.
And let's say 70, and I profile 20 to 28, 30-year olds.
Okay.
And 75% of the girls I profile were brought up to think of having a career,
Okay.
or were told that you got to stand on your feet. That's a big change.
That's a
And
big.
I'm talking of girls brought up not in the metros,
Hmm.
in some part of Orissa, some part of UP, some part of Bengal or Maharashtra, tier two, tier three cities. They were brought up to think of careers,
Okay. That's
and
actually heartening.
so there is a change. There is a change for sure.
So, Gagan, there is a phenomena that I notice around me, which I like to term as midlife rebooting, where
Hmm.
people in their early 40s, 50s, are switching careers. They're starting to do things which are completely opposite to what they were doing earlier. They may continue doing what they were doing earlier. Some cases they may not, but they are taking to other things like, a doctor, right, starting to, wanting to become an author, or somebody writing poetry, somebody going hiking, biking, whatever. So, so many things which people are doing other than what they were trained to do. So, what do you have to
Yeah.
say?
I think it's fantastic, but
Mhm.
I think even through life, one has to have other interests.
Yeah.
So just to talk of myself, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm spending so from my college days, as I told you, I had to be busy. I
Mm,
had to be doing something useful.
mm.
So being involved in a social cause is something I've had from my high school days
Okay.
and
Okay.
right through my life.
Mm,
So
mm,
whether I was in Nepal, or whether in Delhi or in Bombay, like
mm.
in my college days, I was the president of the Leo Club, which was
Okay.
the junior. So
Mm,
it's been part of my life, and I don't feel complete unless I'm part of a social cause. But
mm,
now, so for the past 25 years, I've been a trustee of Salam Balak Trust,
mm.
right? We work
Yeah.
with street children. But now that I have the time, and I became a trustee only after my younger daughter got into her grade 11, because I knew I'm going to be an empty nester soon. So
Mm,
I'd be able to give more time. Till then, I was just flirting with Salam Balak. And then I became a trustee. I was refusing till then
mm-hmm.
because I said, now I can spend more time. And now that I'm not in the corporate world, I am spending much more time, and have more time to do it. Similarly, theater. Theater has been part of my life from my college days. In
Okay.
Nepal, we did a lot of theater, and it's carried on. Now it takes, I mean, one wants it to take a larger thing. I think the new thing that we're doing now, after ha- hanging up our corporate boots, is travel. I travel a lot. And in fact, I took the call to get out of corporate life so that I could travel. It was a very conscious decision.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think it's very important,
Hmm.
so that the crisis doesn't hit you when you're retiring or taking a step back, that
Ah,
what to do with your empty hours, because you should have enough interest to fill it. It
yeah.
could be bridge, it could be social work, it could be writing, it could be poetry, it could be anything. But
Hmm.
one has to have interests
Yeah.
to fill up the empty space. But I like to think that it should be our call when to create that empty space rather than it coming from somewhere. So, I mean, I've had the privilege of doing that. I've always decided when I moved from 100% to 50%, when I exited, I called the shots and said, I think it's time for me to do it. And it's good because then you leave on a high. It's no one wants you to exit. You
Yeah.
don't have that baggage. So I think having multiple interests and making time for that in your daily life I know it's very easy to say, sorry, I don't have the time, but it's possible,
Yeah, yeah,
provided you have a supportive environment.
of course.
That's very important. And, that's very important. But it's very important to have other interests other than work. Otherwise, the vacuum becomes, it can lead to a nervous breakdown.
Yeah. Because if you remember, I mean, I do remember that like maybe 20, 30 years ago, people who, even maybe 10 years ago, people who retired from active work life, actually, you had those withdrawal symptoms. They didn't know what to do with themselves. And nowadays, I think people are becoming aware. So before it actually hits them,
Yeah,
they are kind of taking on to other things, whatever they've wanted to do in life. And also, I think,
yeah.
you have the ability, there's so much exposure, you see so many people doing so many different things, you can't be short of ideas, you can kind of.
Life has changed. Things have changed. If we
Yeah,
compare how our parents live to how we live,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
very different. And I'm sure our children are going to lead totally different lives.
I
I don't
agree.
know whether they'll have such long careers, or whether they will wait to start other things in full earnest.
Hmm.
It's a very, very fast developing and evolving situation. And with artificial intelligence, I don't know where we are headed. It's going to be interesting to watch what happens, and it's a very interesting time ahead.
That's true, that's true. So, Gagan, another thing which I feel women have to do more than men, which is to juggle different roles. And a lot of us struggle to juggle because, there are so many things, and sometimes you're just at sea, you don't know what to do, like because there are too many things. So, is there any formula that you have developed? Any secret recipe that you could share with us that, okay, this is how you should be juggling the different roles?
There's no formula, Sangeeta. I think everyone develops their own mechanism. It
Mm,
also depends on how your support system works, how much you can. But uh, there's a book by Apurva Purohit which says, Lady, You're Not a Man, where
mm,
she very clearly says that if one day the family eats Maggie noodles, it's okay. Don't take it on yourself that they ate Maggie noodles. If you can't do it, it's okay. So
yeah,
the point is, I think the ability to let go of something. You can't get a 10 on 10 in everything.
right.
It's all right to get a 10 somewhere and an 8 and a 7, but choose the priorities.
Yeah,
And and planning like hell. And again, it goes back to those childhood discipline. Having discipline makes a lot of difference. And I think women, because they juggle, are
mm,
far more disciplined than men.
I
Because
agree.
we juggle so much, there is no choice but to be disciplined and to know when to do what.
Mm,
So
mm,
I think it's just sharpening one's skills,
mm.
but easier said than done. Also pay attention to oneself and do the things one likes. And each phase can be different. A phase when your children are growing up can be very challenging.
Yeah, true, true.
And
Mm.
you've got to let go a lot, and the support you need at that time is much, much more.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
each phase has its challenges, and each phase has to be tackled differently.
Mm-hmm.
And, if your children are growing up and you have a demanding job and you have a husband who wants to party every night, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work, right?
Somewhere one has to say no, or but again, the quality of the support system, that's why they say marry wisely.
Yeah,
Very important.
true. Very true. That is, but nonetheless, I think different stages, but like you said, planning and prioritizing, all these things they remain the same. You have, and also not trying to be a perfectionist all the time. These are some things
Absolutely.
which you have to keep in
And
mind.
that's something we all grapple with. And letting go is, you know accepting it with a smile and saying never mind, chalega,
Yeah.
is something one has to develop and accept. And seeking help, I think another thing is seeking help and reaching out for help.
Mm.
It's no izzat ka sawal.
Yeah.
We should seek help when we want it.
Mm.
And these, I'm saying things from what I've done wrong and realized
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
One has done it and maybe suffered, but learned that it's all right to take help.
Yes. And
It's
one
all
should
right.
I mean, why try to do everything? And in fact, then on the one hand, you're trying to be perfect, and then you don't want to seek help. Then it's just going to be a big
But that's another aspect of being perfect, no, Sangeeta, that I can do it all. I don't need help. You're showing your vulnerability if
yeah,
you're asking for help.
yes,
So
yes,
be vulnerable. It's
yeah,
all right to be vulnerable. You
yeah,
know, that's very, very important. So
right.
being human, being not being the superwoman, that picture image of everything happening, there's juggling. There's a lot of juggling, but prioritizing, being disciplined, and seeking help, all these things make a big, big difference.
I agree. I totally agree. And yes, these are things that you learn with time and age, but yes, we can definitely share
Yeah.
it.
So I think people like you and me, as we saying, we've been through it, we've done that.
Mm.
It's very important we cascade this message down. For me, she for she is a very important thing.
Yes,
Not he for she, but she for she. We have to help women, and your objective of doing this is that
yes,
to actually pass on the message and help women because they are facing a tougher situation than we were. There are nuclear families, the demands are a lot.
mm,
Yes, husbands have changed a lot. They
yeah,
do their share at
mm,
home. They're increasingly doing it. And I'm noticing this in Indian husbands as well,
mm,
that they are sort of doing their bit. But we need to pass on this message and uh, empower the women, make them feel guilt free because guilt is something a woman lives with through her life.
yes, yes,
Guilty that I'm working, so I've got to make up by running a perfect home. Guilty that I'm not paying attention to my children enough, so I've got to sleep for 4 hours and still do their homework. It just goes on and on and on. So guilt is something we've got to learn how to manage. It
So
won't go away.
actually, like you said, that's the whole point of having this conversation because, we share our experiences and we are telling people, telling women that it's okay, this is what we've gone through. You
It's
don't have
okay.
to go through the same thing.
Yeah.
You also become
We were
wiser,
the
then
first batch.
yeah, yeah. So you need to, so we are sharing our experiences and giving you the opportunity to take your pick and learn, you know?
Yep, yep, yep.
So, Gagan, what are your
Absolutely.
future plans? Anything else that you still haven't been able to do in your life that there are still some gaps? So maybe which maybe after 5 years, 10 years you want to do?
My priority at the moment is live every day to the fullest
Mm,
and enjoy each moment. And I'm still associated with work and
okay.
I still have a board position and the Salam Balak Trust. So life, as I say, I'm happily busy
Mm,
and I have no fiery ambitions to do anything. I want to see more of the world, be there for my grandchildren, be there for my two daughters who are career women and need the support. So I'm the support system.
wow. Yeah. So yes. So different stages require different things, and that's what you're doing. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And
Okay.
enjoying it. No regrets.
That's the most important thing. Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
my last and final question, can a woman have it all?
Yes, but it's not going to be a 10 on 10 for
No.
everything. But you have to give some, take some. But yes, if you really dream it and manifest it, it will happen. You can have it all, but there'll be some. It's not going to be 10 on 10.
No, 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 no.
It's, yeah. But yes, you can.
I
Why
mean,
not?
tomorrow, if you look back and you reflect and you say that, okay, I did a bit of everything, so I'm happy. So basically, knowing
Yeah,
what you want, and then, yeah, maybe like you were saying, not 10 on 10, but I did what I wanted to do. So I think, there
yeah,
should be no regrets. So when I say have it all, I basically mean, being able to
yes.
lead a life where you don't have any regrets.
And take control of your life. I think that's very important. Don't let anyone else control your life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's very, very important. Stand for yourself. Therefore, be financially independent. Invest your own money, learn how to invest your own money, but take control of yourself so that you don't know what life throws at you,
you
but
don't.
you should be ready for it all. That's very important.
That's true. That's true. So thank you so much. I
Thank you.
absolutely enjoyed having this conversation with you. I hope you enjoyed too. And
I,
I like
I
you
had a
I want to spread this word. I want more and more young girls, women in their 30s. I mean, I think in that, late 30s, early 30s is when the struggle actually begins with children and all. So
Yes, yes,
that is when they need to kind of get a lot of these messages, that how they can carry on and
yeah,
whatever they are doing, 10 on 10,
yeah.
just keep doing it. So, yeah, so I think you've shared some wonderful insights, which of course need to be spread. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Indeed, wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.